How's it going? Alright, so I'm going to talk to you about my first experience on DMT. I had always heard about DMT and always wanted to try it, and it's always been something that I've been interested in, traveling into other dimensions, and DMT is considered the spirit molecule. So, something I've always been really interested in, but I never could find it. It's really rare. Um, I had tried LSD, mushrooms, stuff like that. So I had a buddy that he went to an Ibogaine clinic in Mexico. Ibogaine is a root bark from Africa that the shamans use. And I sort of, what's the way to describe it? Some sort of ritual where you're transitioning into another stage in your life. Like for children into adulthood type thing. But it's used for many different spiritual and medical practices. What it's used for nowadays is to treat people with drug addiction, because there's something that it does to the brain chemistry where it changes the way that your brain works, and that area in the brain responsible for addiction, it completely resets. And people that struggle with opioid addiction, they get really bad withdrawal symptoms when they stop taking the drug. And the Ibogaine sends you into this psychedelic trip. It's not something you take to have fun, and it's not necessarily a pleasant experience at all. But it brings images before your eyes of the things most important in your life and things that you need to fix, and teaches you things and sort of gives you a new perspective. And also what it does while giving you that therapeutic psychedelic experience, it also helps with the withdrawal symptoms so you don't feel sick. So my buddy went through this experience. He came back from Mexico, clean and sober, doing great. And the guy that actually has the facility in Mexico offered to do a DMT session with him. So he told me about this, and my girlfriend and I were very interested and said that we could tag along. So we met the guy in San Francisco, and had a good day in San Francisco. We were just walking around Golden Gate Park, met some cool people, tripped out a little bit, and so we went to dinner with this guy and his family, and my girlfriend and I show up and we meet the family and we talk to them, and so afterwards his family goes to the hotel, and we go with the guy, and we go and find a place where we can do the DMT session. So forgot who did it first. I think the guy did it first. His name's Charles, by the way. Really cool guy, very smart, and he saves a lot of lives with his Ibogaine treatments. So he does his trip first, and it looks like we're close to this museum building, some kind of a museum building, and outside there's all these lights and like plants and stuff like that. So we're like, all right, this is the place. And so he does it, and he's just standing there, kind of looks like he's drunk, but he's just like laughing hysterically, and he just has this big smile on his face. So next up, my friend, who also has the same name as me, his name is Cody, and he did it, and he put some headphones on, and he just kind of sat there, and he didn't really have much expression on his face, but later he told us like all the hallucinations and stuff like that he saw. He said he saw like a lot of sort of like Aztec symbols and stuff like that. And then my girlfriend did it, and she was like making all these weird noises, and she, for some reason when she did it, she thought that we were all seeing the same things. And she was like, "Do you guys see it? Do you guys see it? Oh my god." And so I got to see all three of them go through it before I did. And then, so we had to leave this place because the security guy came out, and so we drove around. And initially I did it in the car, but I didn't do enough, and everything just kind of like was more clear and colorful, I'd say, but it wasn't intense enough. So we found a place, we parked, pulled over, and the guy loaded up some more for me. And I was kind of like, I didn't think I was going to really have that cool of a trip, because I was in an area where it was really dark, and all that wasn't, I was sitting at a curb, and then across the road from me was just like these bushes. And so I wasn't really expecting a lot from it, but so I took a real big rip and I held it in. And then I remember looking at this bush, and all of a sudden I just had this feeling, like this wave of euphoria and just peace and serenity, and just the most beautiful feeling I've ever felt in my life. And I'm looking at this bush, and it turns into like this, it looks like an Aztec god or something like that, and it's doing all these weird hand signals, like trying to teach me something, like some sort of esoteric knowledge or something like that. And like he's basically teaching me things and showing me things, and I just had this wave of just pure joy and happiness, and deja vu. Like I felt like I had been here before, and this is where I'm supposed to be, and this is where I go after death. It gave me this sort of comfort in knowing that when I die, I'll be at peace, and there's definitely life after death. And so it was just a really awesome experience. I can't fully explain it, but the visuals were some sort of like supreme being or God or something, which I don't believe in God, but some kind of entity, and it was just teaching me things, not by words, but through like hand signals, and almost sort of like a telepathic type way of communicating to me. And so it was a really awesome experience. And also I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience with Ibogaine, because that was the first experience I had which completely transformed my way of thinking and my way of viewing the world. And I totally used to only believe in the three-dimensional world, and just I had a very logical, rational way of thinking, sort of really black and white, and I just thought we were just these living organisms. There's no purpose why we're here. We're just here because, you know, my mom fucked my dad and then I came out of her ass, basically. I know that sounds pretty fucked up, but I just have a weird, twisted sense of humor. So I didn't think there was any purpose to life, and we're just like these living creatures that we live and we die, and you know, when we die, we're dead. And when I did the Ibogaine, at the time I was struggling with an opiate addiction, and so I ordered it online. And this is actually before my friend Cody did it. I'm the one that recommended that he try it too, because it really helped me a lot, and I came out of it clean. So I had to wait until I felt really sick and having intense withdrawal symptoms, and so I ingested the Ibogaine. It's kind of like this powder, and it tastes absolutely horrible. And you can't eat anything for 12 hours prior, so my stomach was empty and feeling really nauseous, and then I had to drink this nasty tasting powder stuff. And the beginning, I felt sort of heavy, like gravity was just pulling me down into a bed. Now, when you're on this stuff, you lose motor function completely, and you just sort of have to lay there. You just feel like you're just being pulled downwards. And so initially, I was just laying there in a dark room. You don't want to have any lights or anything like that because it like blinds you. And just laying in this dark room, and my buddy's playing guitar, and he's just playing this really awesome shit on guitar. And it just totally made me feel at peace, like I was sort of like flying around. This was just the beginning, you know. The whole thing is definitely not peaceful, and it's definitely not fun, but it's very therapeutic and beneficial. So I'm laying there, and then the next stage, I start having these insane hallucinations, which I've never had in my entire life. You know, I've done mushrooms and LSD, and I have never hallucinated like this. I remember in the corner of the room, there was like this, it looked like a motion detector or something. So I was laying there in the bed, and it kind of glowed a little bit. I don't know if it was glow in the dark or if I was just tripping on it, but it started to look like an eye, like a green eye, sort of like a reptile eye or something. And then it turned into like an eye with a squiggly neck and body, and it was just coming at me, and I was like, oh shit, and then I looked back up and it was gone, and then it would start coming at me, and I'm like, oh fuck, and then it would disappear, and I'm like, oh fuck, I'm just tripping. And what they say is when you start having hallucinations and they're unpleasant, you just blink your eyes and it'll go away. It will come back if you keep staring, so you don't want to focus on one thing for too long. So that was the initial part of the trip, and I'd say about a couple, 2-3 hours later, I was just having visions, and in each of my visions, what it felt like to me was like a past life regression type thing. And each of them were in different settings at different time periods in different lives. And one of them that was just like really significant for me, and I can't fully explain it, but I know what I felt from it. And I'd say this was the beginning to a spiritual awakening for me. I was somewhere in, it felt like South America, somewhere in that region. I'm not sure exactly where in South America, but I remember that I was with all these village people, and there was this big pyramid, and we were all working at different levels of the pyramid, and we had these stones, and we were grinding the stones up all day long, grinding the stones up into this fine material, like a powder or like little flakes of the stones. And after we worked for 8-10 hours grinding these stones, we would go to the top of the pyramid and feed it in through this little hole. And it was what it symbolized for me was like a sacrifice to the gods, and like basically there's a greater purpose, and there's a greater purpose to our existence, and not to just live on this earth for material possessions or things that we want or we think we need, but more for a greater purpose. There's more to life than just the material possessions, and we were basically sacrificing all those wants and needs that we think we have as humans for the gods. And by doing so, by being disciplined, we receive this like inner peace and connectedness. We were all connected in some way. And in this dream, in this vision, I didn't really have signs of it, but I had this feeling that the world was going to end, and we were all going to pass on. But we were accepting of that, and we were at peace with knowing that our time here wasn't much longer. And you know, instead of going out and doing everything we want to do before we die, we were grinding these stones all day so that we could sacrifice them to the gods. So that was my first vision that I remember. I had probably 20 or 30 different visions, but these were the ones that I remembered the most. I had another one. It felt like I was somewhere in Africa, and we were basically at war, and the enemy was coming in, and we were there preparing, and there were guns and explosions and all kinds of things like that, and it was just this really gory battle, and I don't really know what that meant, but it was with the reoccurring theme of, you know, our time on Earth is not much longer, but we accept it. So that one was really kind of disturbing. I had another one that was very peaceful, and it felt like we were in the here and now, basically in 21st century, maybe even a little bit later in the future. But I was with this small group of people, maybe 5, 6 people, and I never had seen them before, but they were like close to me in the vision, and we were just in this like beautiful landscape, and there was just like this field of really bright green grass, and like this mountain range, and right next to us was this beautiful waterfall coming down, and we were just kind of together, and we were all connected there, and we were just kind of like standing there accepting everything around us, but we knew that the world was going to end once again, and I think like this giant meteor was going to hit the earth, and I knew that like everything was going to go up in flames, and I knew my body was just going to disintegrate basically, but we were all there and we were at peace, and we all shared this like love and connected feeling. I had one vision that I had was very disturbing, but pretty eye-opening. I don't believe in hell, but I had a vision that I was in hell, and maybe it represented all the things that I did wrong in my life, and that I didn't want to do them anymore. I'm not sure, but I was basically in this hallway, and it was a line to hell, like kind of like you're in a line in the jail waiting to get put in your cell. And at the end of the line, I remember all the people just looked really disturbed, and like kind of old, scraggly, bum-looking type people, or just fucked up in the head, bad people in general, and we're all in this line together. And at the end of the line, you walk up to the line and you just collapse, and then your body's dragged away, and then the next guy. And so we were just like walking into our death basically, or into the entrance of hell, whatever that is. And so I went to the end of the line, and I dropped down, and then I was every time someone dropped, I saw like this big giant demon or Satan or whatever it was, and he was laughing, and he was gaining pleasure off of this. And then I was just in this like cave of fire basically, and there was just suffering and screams and misery everywhere around me, and it was a really dark experience. You know, and I had to keep, when you're on this, you feel really overheated, and you have to keep drinking water, so I'd have a vision, then I have to go to the bathroom, and then I'd lay back down and have another one. I remember I laid there with my eyes open for a period of time, and I was just kind of, you hear a lot of stuff, and it felt like I was traveling through space, and I could see like this, you know, infinity of stars and galaxies and planets, and like I was just flying around, and and I was just laying there in bed, and I remember seeing these like shadow people like walking all over, and there was like this balcony, and I could hear things walking on the balcony. Really weird shit. But those are the dreams that I remember the most. I had several different lives that I went from my last few hours in that life to death, and then I died, and then I would reincarnate into another life. And I came out of this experience from an atheist to a very spiritual person, knowing for sure that there is a life after death, and we're not alone, you know, in this physical world. There's so much more in the other dimensions. This is just like one guy put it, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And as you might have seen my other videos, I am practicing learning astral projection, and basically experience where your astral body leaves your physical body, or you can call it your soul or whatever. But we all have this consciousness that we think is just trapped in this physical body, but our consciousness can leave the physical body. So that was just some of my crazy experiences that I had, and I want to tell you that they were very beneficial, and they shaped who I am today and changed my outlook on the world in a positive way, for sure. These things I spoke about in this video were not to just simply trip balls and have fun. You know, that's for going out and going camping or partying with your friends. Watch out, dog. You know, and I do that on occasions, but or at least I have in the past, not so much anymore. But these experiences were truly beneficial to me, and gave me a whole new outlook on the world. And just overall were very profound, amazing experiences that I had that I wanted to share with you guys. That's all I got for today. Please, if you like my video, give it a like, subscribe. I'll be posting more in the future. Alright, take care, guys.